Hello, and you are listening to Eco Justice Radio. We present environmental and climate stories from a social justice frame featuring voices not necessarily heard on mainstream media. Welcome, I am Jack Ite. On today's show, toxic chemicals and our kids, moms for a healthier planet. Host Carrie Kim will be interviewing Zen Honeycutt, the founding executive director of the nonprofit Moms Across America. Zen Honeycutt instigated a national coalition of unstoppable moms called Moms Across America over concern for the health of her kids from the food supply. With the motto, Empowered Moms, Healthy Kids, they've created over 1,000 community events in all 50 states to raise awareness about GMOs, toxicants in the food supply, and other environmental issues that pose risks to the health of our families. She's also an international speaker and the author of Unstoppable, Transforming Sickness and Struggle into Triumph, Empowerment, and a Celebration of Community.
Aloha, this is Carrie Kim. Listeners, we are grateful to have Zen Honeycutt, tenacious founder of the nonprofit Moms Across America, joining us again today. She is the author of the book Unstoppable and a key figure in the MAHA movement. And she is coming to join us today to talk about the ways we can advocate for and promote the health of children, especially children and communities, by eliminating biocides, GMOs, glyphosate, and the multitude of toxic chemicals in our environment. Through our collective actions and awareness, we can collaborate to once again inhabit a thriving planet. Our show originates from the original homelands, ancestral homelands of the Tongva and all of their relatives. And we invite you to join with them and to join with all the many indigenous nations across Turtle Island to ensure their legacy continues for the benefit of all generations of life. The epidemic of chronic illness and degenerative disease on this continent continues unabated. We essentially live in a synthetic chemical soup, given the amount of toxic exposure we face from harmful chemicals used in agriculture, manufacturing, mining, and the energy industries. Our times ask us to be relentless in the pursuit of clean air, water, soil, food, and every consumer product we use. Behavioral change and action are imperative to ensure the continuance of all life. Zen Honeycutt, founder of Moms Across America, joins us today to share how we can advocate for the health of our children, public health, and that of the planet itself. Zen has motivated and inspired millions of mothers to advocacy and action on behalf of their children and communities, many of whom have directly suffered from the harmful legacy of toxic chemicals being used in the U.S. and globally. Our children deserve the inheritance of a clean and thriving earth, free from toxic exposure. Zen Honeycutt is here to encourage us to invoke change by leading and acting in our own communities in order to uplift the children of the world. Welcome, Zen.
Oh, Carrie, thank you for that beautiful introduction and tribute to the native people and our land and our earth and, our health. I really feel your dedication. Thank you so much.
Well, we are in your debt and in the debt of all the mothers of the world, especially. You are an irrepressible force of nature. And we are immensely grateful for your presence, the role model you have been for anyone and everyone who cares about children and the natural world.
Thank you so much. And I couldn't do it without our entire network and without people like you who share on alternative media the truth about what's happening in our food supply and in our environment. So thank you very much to our vast network and growing network and to your network and listeners. Thank you.
We discussed we've had Zen on the show before, listeners, as you know, and I wonder if you could still share again, for those who haven't heard this, why Moms Across America? Why did it begin?
Thank you. Well, it was really because I was a mother of 3 children that were struggling with health issues. And I did not know why it was happening. When I was a child, I didn't know anybody with the barrage of health issues that our children are facing today. I think I knew one kid who had the genetic type of diabetes, right? And there
Mm-hmm.
were two kids that were put on Adderall or what Ritalin or whatever, one of
Right.
those
At
drugs at
that
my
time.
school. And it was because they were smart. It
Hmm.
wasn't because, do you know what I mean? It was because they were super smart.
Right.
And but we didn't have people allergic to mangoes and pepper and strawberries and eggs and dairy and like that just wasn't a thing.
Hmm.
Kids
Yeah.
ate whatever food they could eat. I mean,
Right.
they wanted to eat pretty much.
Hmm.
So my kids were they had over 20 different food allergies. One had autism symptoms that were quite severe.
Hmm.
One had allergies. One had asthma at one point. Some of the food allergies were life-threatening. My eldest son almost died a couple of times from food allergies, and so life was very difficult as a young mom.
Hmm.
And I was struggling. And when I found out about GMOs, genetically modified organisms, from Robin O'Brien, she did a TED talk called Patriotism on a Plate, and somebody
Hmm.
posted it on Facebook, and I watched it. And
Hmm.
then Jeffrey Smith also posted his movie for free. It's called Genetic Roulette. When I found out about
Hmm.
GMOs, I
Hmm.
thought, oh, this makes sense. They've changed the food. I mean, changing the food doesn't make sense, but it makes sense why so many kids would be reacting
Right.
because there's these genetically modified ingredients that have been snuck in the food. By then it was 17 years. Now it's almost
Hmm.
30.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there's three types of GMOs. One of them has the pesticide built right in, and what it does is it explodes the stomach of the bug that eats it, and the bug dies. So that's just like gut dysbiosis. These GMOs put holes in the stomach of our kids,
Right.
right? And they get these allergies and these autoimmune issues and there's all kinds of health issues. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then there's another type of GMO that it's resistant to herbicides. It's called HT, herbicide tolerant. And it's mostly 80% are tolerant to glyphosate, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Right.
Glyphosate is the most widely used herbicide in the world. It's in Roundup. And so that type of GMO, they can spray the whole field, and the herbicide kills the weeds, but not the crop, right? The
Hmm.
problem with that is that it soaks into the crop, it does not wash off, and we are not Roundup ready. So
Right.
we're consuming that herbicide, which causes cancer, liver disease, kidney disease, kills off sperm, neurological damage, nervous system damage, and it androgenizes baby girls, like masculinizes them. It causes changes to the reproductive organs, causes birth defects, all kinds of
Hmm.
problems. So we are now consuming that at a
Hmm.
very high level in our food, but unlike ever before. And then the third type of GMO I didn't learn about till later, but it's a desired trait where they genetically alter it to have a desired trait, like apples or potatoes that don't brown. But
Hmm.
the problem with that is that they cause thousands of off-target mutations.
Hmm.
CRISPR and gene editing,
Hmm.
right, cause thousands of off-target mutations. I don't know about you, but I got enough going on in life. I don't want to have to worry about genetic mutations in my food, right?
Hmm.
So I found out about these things along the way, and I've of course consulted with doctors and scientists and lawyers and farmers and geneticists and researchers and all of that, and created Moms Across America, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. Our motto is empowered moms, healthy kids, and our mission is to educate and empower mothers and others with
Hmm.
actions and solutions to create healthy communities.
Hmm.
So I did that 13 years ago. And my first event was to invite people to join into 4th of July parades to raise
Hmm.
awareness about GMOs and to get them labeled. Moms Across America
Hmm.
march to label GMOs.
Hmm.
And we had a reach on Facebook of 300,000 a week
Amazing.
in
It's like,
just
oh
like
my
three
God, a
months.
week. That's
Yeah,
amazing. I
yeah,
didn't realize
and
the reach
with
was like that.
no boosting, no changes to
Hmm.
algorithms. And then we had 600 leaders that created over 1,000 events in all 50 states within the first 5 years.
It's amazing. And now it's exponentially grown, right? I can't
Oh
imagine.
yeah, hundreds of millions, and I mean, we have a couple 100,000 followers, but we reach hundreds of millions because it's not just our social media; it's podcasts like this and
Hmm.
webinars. We've been in 14 different movies. I know one blog I published in China reached 3 million people in a day. Things like that.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah.
become not just national but international as well.
Global. Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. You know, I wanted to do this just because I feel it's important. And I know it's an emotional time, but I wanted to take a moment just to honor the legacy of your son, Ben
Mhm.
Honeycutt. And I wonder what words you might like to say about his life and how he continues to ignite your purpose, because it is part of the reason of why you began this. And it is important for
Yeah.
mothers to hear this who are maybe also suffering through the same thing, or they also are grieving their children. So if
Mhm.
you might say anything about.
Yes, and thank you. We were supposed to talk, months ago, but I just couldn't bear it at the time. About 3.5 months ago, my eldest son, Ben, who was 22, and he had eaten organic food for 10 years,
Mhm,
and he was a
mhm.
vegan for 7. He
Wow.
was a survival expert, right? He wanted to live.
Mhm,
He was
mhm,
physically fit. He was a runner. He worked outside every day with a nearby farmer.
mhm,
He was the healthiest person physically that I knew. He succumbed to depression and he took his life. And it was almost a total shock. He had told us 4 months earlier that he was having problems. And I had noticed a year earlier some changes. And so we got a lot of functional medicine testing done.
mhm,
And we learned a lot of things about that. But before I get into that, I just want to say Ben was the reason why I started Moms Across America. When we first got started with the raising awareness about GMOs, before we even started the Moms Across America initiative, I was passing out flyers to raise awareness about GMOs at farmers markets because in California there was the Prop 37 initiative, right, to label
mhm.
GMOs that Pam
Yeah.
Larry started.
Mhm,
And we had gone to that initial that campaign event, to find out, sorry, the presidential election event to find out if the GMO labeling had passed or not.
mhm,
And when I was there, the woman at the front of the room was acknowledging people, and I thought about what I had done, and I thought I passed out flyers, that was pretty good. And I thought, but wait, how come she's in the front of the room and I'm in the back of the room? And
mhm,
just
mhm,
like, why didn't I take on leadership? Nothing wrong, just like, why
right.
didn't I? And I realized if I had, my actions would have been different, right?
Mhm,
The more you
mhm,
hold yourself to account for something, the more your actions change and evolve, right? And the
mhm,
more you accomplish. And I thought about that and I thought, what if I did take action? What if I said that like I'm the one to transform the food supply, right? Like
mhm.
not an ego thing, more like, well, I'm not
Right.
gonna wait for Robin O'Brien or Jeffrey Smith to do it.
Mhm,
So I just started thinking about that. And then we lost. And I went out of the car and I was crying in the minivan
mhm,
because I could not believe that people didn't want to know what was in their food. I think that election was rigged, right?
mhm.
And I was crying. And my son, Ben, who was 9 years old at the time, he said, well, Mom, even Star Wars took 6 episodes.
Ah,
And I was like, yeah. And they had Yoda. They had a magical being like that could move
right.
things. You know what I mean? We don't even have that. So
Yeah.
apparently now it's taken 9 or 12 episodes, but still the point is that maybe it's time for a new episode, is what I thought to myself. Maybe
Mhm,
it's time to take on leadership.
mhm,
So with
mhm.
his prompting and his support, he watched GMO movies with me. He agreed when I asked him, "Would you be my partner in your health?"
Oh,
Because he had such bad allergies, he'd almost died.
right.
He said yes. So we
Oh,
shook hands on it. We made a deal, and I said, "You will get better."
mhm,
And within 4 months he did. His rashes went away, his
mhm,
all of that went away.
mhm,
And
mhm.
when he went organic, I mean, his all his autoimmune issues cleared up.
Wow.
So his physical health did get better. And he inspired me. He marched besides me in the parades. He passed out flyers. He became a public speaker
Mm,
about GMOs and went to churches and eventually was a speaker about veganism because he read
mhm,
the book How Not to Die,
mhm.
which I'm very sad about now because I don't believe that veganism is for everybody.
Right.
But he was very active, so he was a big part of why I started Moms Across America, and he's a huge part of why I will keep going, and that is
Mhm.
because what I learned from him, who was really like a case study for trying as hard as you possibly can
Right.
to be healthy, right? He was more strict than I was. We would go to restaurants and he would not eat the food. He would only drink
Mm,
water or he would bring
right.
his own food. The
Understand
only
what you
food he
mean.
ate out was Chipotle, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't all the time. It was just, maybe
Right.
once a month or something. So because we had tested them and they had the least pesticides. So
Right.
What I learned from him is in the testing on his body and before that was that he briefly just before that was he had high levels of a heavy metal called thallium.
Mm-hmm.
Thallium is it's an industrial heavy metal. It can be used as a tasteless poison, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe at all that's what happened. Even though I
Uh-huh.
do have a lot of enemies because he ate all at home, right? And
I understand what you
it's
mean.
it's very commonly found in kale. And so
Oh,
we tested
okay.
the kale that he eats, and it was high in thallium. And
Mm-hmm.
he ate a giant bowl of salad every day. I'm talking a family size that you would bring to a potluck, right?
Mm-hmm.
He ate a huge bowl of salad every day. And thallium causes DNA breakage and mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that something that is not naturally occurring when you say,
Well, I mean, it's found in kale that's grown in the United States and I maybe in other places too. I mean, it's not like somebody added it, right?
right,
It's
right, right,
absorbed
right.
through the soil, from the
Mm-hmm.
air, pollution, and through the soil.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Just
And
wondering
we
if that's
also,
all. Mm-hmm.
yeah, we also found mycotoxins,
Mm-hmm.
which are commonly found in grains and beans. And he ate 2 cans of beans every day.
Right.
And mycotoxins are showing up more and more in food because glyphosate causes the growth 15 times higher the amount
Wow.
of fusarium and aspergillus. These are molds. And the
Mm-hmm.
byproduct of mold is many types of mycotoxins, like ochratoxin, aflatoxin, xenolone, and he was very high in those.
Mm-hmm.
And they also cause mental illness and depression.
Mm-hmm.
And he also had high levels of DDT, which is a banned pesticide.
Right.
And so all three of these things are not being regulated by the government, right? They don't test for it, they don't look for it, they don't say what levels there should be, high or low
Mm-hmm.
levels. They don't do that at all. So even if you're eating organic, you could be exposing yourself to these things. So he also had high levels of candida, which is the candida eats the heavy metals, and
Mm-hmm.
candida can cause mental illness and depression. And he had low levels of cholesterol because he was a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Low levels of correct cholesterol can cause depression
Sure. Yes.
and other vitamins and mineral too. It's very low levels. So what we learned from his genetic SNPs also is that he could not tolerate toxins well. He has the MTFHR and several other variants that have an impaired ability to detox. And he
Mm-hmm.
didn't have an ability to absorb choline well through plants, which
Mm-hmm.
makes it not a good idea for him to be a vegan.
Right.
So
Understand.
he should have eaten eggs. So there are people that shouldn't be vegan. So we learned a lot from his testing that we're going to take going forward and help other people to learn and to have them prevent this type of tragedy.
Hmm. Well, it's been said, and I think people already know this, and mothers like yourself have been dealing with this, where people are outliving their children. And it wasn't ever meant to be this way, but it's becoming more of a common thing rather than an exceptional thing. So I don't know if there's anything you would like to say to parents about the need for leadership and action given the scenario, given that your children may not outlive you.
Get testing done. And on Moms Across America, we have a toxin testing page where you can get your child tested for all kinds of industrial pesticides, industrial chemicals. Find out what's going in their body. I found out too late. Find out what's going in their body, get them tested for the mycotoxins. We have a whole package on there and get their genetic testing done too. So you can find out what their proclivities might be and what they should avoid. I think we should be empowered with the knowledge about our children's unique, genetic disposition, and it far outweighs the benefits far outweigh the costs. Some people imagine, oh, somebody's going to get my kid's genetic data.
Oh, mhm.
It's just a bunch of C's and K's and U's and G's, right? It's just, to me, it's like, I do not care if somebody else has that. What I care about is having the information that empowers me and my child to take care of themselves. That it far, and that information can frankly keep us out of the big pharma system,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? It can keep us away from the people that we don't want to be affiliated with because of the side effects of these drugs. So I think the most important thing is to get the information that you can and don't blame yourself. We're all doing the best we can, and sometimes it's just not enough.
Well, I feel like there's definitely no, I think it's no denying that I'm sure that his depression was definitely caused by all of these factors in the food system, in the toxic chemical exposure, and so it's not, we didn't used to have to do this, as you say. We didn't have
No.
this situation, even a generation ago, really, to this degree. I mean, maybe we're already starting to see that, but it's not meant to be this way, our intergenerational connections.
Our kids
So,
are being inundated by toxins. Yeah.
yeah, our kids and ourselves,
And ourselves.
both,
Yes.
both of us.
Ourselves too.
So Zen, we are going to come back. We'll take a break right now. Listeners, we will be back with Zen Honeycutt of Moms Across America in just a minute.
You're listening to Eco Justice Radio, a listener-supported media outlet. Please consider making a donation to ensure that we can continue to provide socially and environmentally driven content. Donations can be made at ecojusticeradio.org or socal350.org. For an extended version of this interview, as well as other benefits, we encourage you to become a member of our Patreon at patreon.com/ecojusticeradio. Today you're listening to Toxic Chemicals and Our Kids, Moms for a Healthier Planet, with host Carrie Kim and guest Zen Honeycutt, the founding executive director of the nonprofit Moms Across America.
Listeners, we are back with Zen Honeycutt of Moms Across America. And we were just talking about the need for genetic testing and her urging us, our parents, to test their children, especially if they're having issues, allergy issues, chronic illnesses of any kind. So could you share how people might do that, Zen, what you recommend?
Yes, absolutely. So on our website, momsacrossamerica.org, under action and toxin testing, we have a page where we have partnered with Kendall McIntosh. She's the highest level board certified nutrition specialist, licensed dietitian, and she is and a certified integrative nutrition health coach, right? So she does the whole package. She has a genetic testing. It's through 3x4 genetics blueprint testing. And also, she has total toxin, like your toxin burden testing that you can get. So I suggest you get both of those too. If you want to add on things like allergy testing or parasite or bacteria testing, it's a really good idea to get all the testing done that you can afford. And I would assert that this is an investment in your health. It's the best investment you can make. I took money out of my kids' college funds to get this testing done because, frankly, they're not going to college unless we sort out their health issues, right? Right now, 2 out of 3 not going to college.
Mm-hmm.
So they're struggling with things. And so we need to sort out how to get these toxins out of their body that they have been inundated with.
Right.
And you cannot find out how to do that unless you get your child's unique testing done. Like, for instance, genetically, one of my sons has very high iron, like he should give blood. His iron levels are so high. The other one
Uh-huh.
has very low iron. I eat
Right.
the same food in the house, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
One of my sons couldn't, and I don't absorb choline well through plants. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to eat eggs. It, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I was avoiding eggs for a long time, and I realized my
Right.
memory was really starting to tank. And
Uh-huh.
eggs contain choline, which impacts your memory.
Right.
So there are certain things, and I cannot have any coffee. Ben couldn't either. My other kid can have coffee all day long, right?
Right.
Everybody is different. So until you get your genetic testing done, you're flying blind
Right.
in your health journey. You really are. So I
Mm-hmm.
say it's time to own our own data and to get your genetic testing done and to get your toxin burden testing done because some people have high parasites because they have high heavy metals. Parasites eat heavy metals. So
Mm-hmm.
does Candida. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to sort out both of those issues at the same time.
Right.
Otherwise, when you take away one, the other one goes berserk or what, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
problem with those.
Yes. Yeah, you're out of balance.
Yeah, so it's very important to know that information. So I would strongly encourage everybody to go to momsacrossamerica.org, click on action and toxin testing, and invest in this testing. And I strongly recommend Kendall because she's the one who helped me after my
Mm-hmm.
son passed. She looked at my son's records. It took her 6 days to go through. I mean, she just devoted herself to supporting
Mm-hmm.
me, and she was so loving and kind, and really is supporting now my other sons. And my middle son now is finally taking his supplements. He's
Mm-hmm.
finally he's
Yeah.
getting better. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see good things from me. He just called me yesterday and told me he was excited to apply for a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I see progress, and I really hope that people will invest in themselves and their children's health and get that testing done.
Yeah, as you say about flying blind, because there is no universal way of approaching our health. As you say, you have
Hmm.
one child this way and the other child completely the opposite. So don't take for granted that we're the same as anyone else as far as how we will respond to any sort of toxin.
Hmm.
Many people are concerned about EPA and the rollback of regulations or the potential rollback. And what do you have concerns about this, or do you feel that really deregulating at the federal level will increase what happens at the state level? I mean, how is Moms Across America addressing the issue?
Yes, well, thank you for that question. Moms Across America just met with the EPA a couple weeks ago. And
Aha.
yes, we met with Nancy Beck, the head of that pesticide department, and Kyle Klunkler, and
Mm-hmm.
Doug Troutman. All three of these are notorious for being some of the biggest pesticide lobbyists out there.
Mm-hmm.
And two other people, Alyssa Reeves and Ed Messina as well. And we brought a team. I brought a farmer attorney, a toxicologist, a nutritionist, a biologist, and another toxicologist, the owner of the lab that we do our testing with,
Mm-hmm.
and an agronomist, or a farmer educator, right? So we had a great team, and we really wanted to reach out to see how could we MAHA. I mean, this EPA currently, it looks like one of the worst,
Mm-hmm.
appointees that we could have as far as
Mm-hmm.
pesticide
Hmm.
reform goes.
Right.
And so I reached out, I was like, look, we got to have some kind of MAHA win here. You guys got to
Mm-hmm.
give us something. Otherwise, frankly, they're going to be making a liar out of Trump.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Trump said on a presidential platform, he said the words pesticide, autism, children, chronic childhood disease,
Right.
and cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said he was going to get these pesticides out of our food supply. And if this EPA doesn't follow up on that, they're making him a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to give us a win. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
they are doing some very, like, astonishingly egregious things regarding pesticides. For instance, they have five PFAS pesticides up for approval. I believe they
Oh
just
God.
approved one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And PFAS can destroy the soil for 50 to 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
This means that a farmer will not be able to pass his farmland down to his child if he uses PFAS pesticides on the
Mm-hmm.
farm. And this is why they're also rolling back PFAS regulations. They have regulations right now that Biden put in place for only four PFAS chemicals. There's 12,000 of them, by the way. And only four of them are actually being regulated.
That's
And
amazing.
this administration wants to roll
Even
those
further
back.
back.
Yeah, they want to get rid of them. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And they also are trying to say now that atrazine is not harmful to endangered species. That is categorically false, and we've known this for practically 40 years now. Tyrone Hayes, a scientist, I believe he's from California, San Francisco as well. He did studies. He was paid by Syngenta to do studies on
Mm-hmm.
atrazine, and the
Mm-hmm.
studies that he showed, I mean, that he did, showed that the male frogs became either hermaphrodites, asexual, or homosexual. They completely changed their sexual behavior.
Right.
And this was at low doses, and he was silenced for 20 years, and then
Mm-hmm.
he finally was able to talk about it. And I saw him do a lecture, and he explained it and showed it very clearly that that's what it does. So atrazine should not be used anywhere at any time in our food supply, but it's mostly showing up in water. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're very concerned about what it's doing to the human population, their reproductive organs, and how it could be affecting us. So, of course, they've done nothing about glyphosate, dicamba, paraquat, atrazine, all these. There's 86 pesticides that the farmers are allowed to use here in the United States that are banned in other countries, such as
Mm-hmm.
China, Brazil, the EU, Canada. 86 pesticides that American people are consuming and that our export partners are
Mm-hmm.
consuming. If they take export grains from us and we're
Right.
using those grains on it, then we're using those chemicals on those grains, then they are consuming them as well. So this EPA it could be disastrous for us. When you look at the EPA budget for
Mhm.
2026, like the budget outline of basically their goals, it's
Right.
to remove regulation and to clear the pathway for innovation, for more business. They're not even pretending to
Yeah,
protect
more.
the environment anymore.
Innovation meaning more poison. I mean, that's
Yeah,
basically
more
poison the
business. Yeah,
population.
business equals poison, right? So, because it's industrial, that's mostly what they're doing. The only people who are impacted, let's be really clear, the only people who are impacted by the EPA's regulations are people who have chemicals that could be harmful to our health.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you don't use chemicals that are harmful to our health, you don't care about the EPA's regulations. You
Hmm.
have a choice. Make what you want, sell what you want. But if you make products that are harmful to our children, you will have a tidal wave of mothers coming after you.
Hmm.
And it shouldn't be that way. It should be the EPA regulating and saying, no, this chemical harms birds and frogs and, oysters. Therefore, we're not going to allow this in our food supply because it's likely to impact humans. Now,
Hmm.
they would argue, the EPA would argue, well, but we can't correlate, I don't know, studies for rats compared to humans, that type of thing, right? They'll say, oh,
Hmm.
it happens to animals, but not to humans.
Right.
And so when I've met with them, I said, well, here's the thing. You don't have studies showing that glyphosate, for instance, is safe for humans.
Hmm.
And I said, well, we have hundreds of studies showing it's safe. And I said, but not on humans, right? So it's only
Hmm.
in animals.
Right. Hmm.
And they said, well, yeah. And I'm like, why is that? And they said, well, because it's unethical to test
Hmm.
for pesticides on humans. And I
Hmm.
said, well, if it's unethical to test pesticides on humans, how is it ethical to allow glyphosate and these pesticides in our food and in our breast
Right.
milk? I said,
Exactly.
you have to stop it and stop it now. I went full mom on them. This was the first
Hmm.
meeting I had with them on May 27th in
Uh-huh.
2015 after we found glyphosate in breast milk.
Hmm. And how was that
And
received, Zen?
well, so it was recorded because reporter Carrie Gillum and a few other reporters wanted to listen. It was the first time that we
Uh,
had done anything like this. And so
right.
the media was allowed to listen. She was working for Reuters at the time. And
Uh-huh.
they left the conference call phone on.
Oh.
And when we left the room, she heard them say, wow, well, what are you going to say to that?
Hmm.
So, so they were, taken aback, which is always astonishing to me. Like when we met with the EPA recently, Nancy Beck wanted clarification on what Section 453 was in the
Hmm.
appropriations bill, which we've been working on for months now. It's the
Uh-huh.
pesticide immunity clause,
Shield.
right? It's a thing that gives pesticide companies complete immunity from lawsuits. And she needed clarification about that. I was astonished. And then
Hmm.
and Kyle Klunkler wanted clarification on what a desiccant was. And we're like, using glyphosate as a drying agent before harvest. It's just astonishing to
Right.
me that they didn't know this, or it was a tactic to sort of
Hmm.
delay. I don't know.
Or,
I'm not
or
sure.
pretend ignorance. I don't know, feign ignorance.
Yeah,
Could you explain the pesticide immunity shield? Because some people may not actually know.
sure. So Section 453 in the House Appropriations Bill, which is the bill that declares how we're going to spend money, did have, well, it still has, but this full bill is not up right now for vote. But for many months we it was at very close risk of this being passed
Hmm.
because the House passed it and then it went to the Senate, but the Senate didn't have
Right.
the bill, that part in the bill, right?
Hmm.
But what it said was basically that all the chemicals covered under FIFRA, which are pesticides and household, chemicals and things like that, would be immune from lawsuits.
Hmm.
And well, it didn't say it that way. Sorry, let me clarify. What it did was it made it so that the chemicals covered under FIFRA that are monitored by the EPA,
Hmm.
um, that they would not be able to make any changes to the label. The EPA is the
Right.
law, right? They make the label,
Right.
that's the law. But the EPA would not be able to spend any money, because that's how it was about money, right? So they wouldn't be
Hmm.
able to spend any money to make any changes to the label, unless there was a full human health assessment about that chemical. They wouldn't be able to make any changes to whether or not it was carcinogen,
Hmm.
even if there was new science to show that it was, without
Hmm.
that full human health assessment. The full human health assessment takes 15 years.
Oh my
The
God.
last one that was done on glyphosate was done in 1993.
That's insane. Yeah.
So even if new science comes up, the EPA wouldn't be able to do their job and change the label to say that glyphosate, for instance, causes cancer, which we have now a brand
Hmm.
new study that shows it causes over 10 types of cancer in rats, right?
Hmm.
10,
Hmm.
especially leukemia.
Hmm.
And so it basically neuters the EPA.
Hmm.
cuts them off, just does not let them do their job. And then when somebody comes to a court and says, I used Roundup, or my uncle or my dad used Roundup and got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, which, 160,000 people have done that now.
Hmm.
Um, and they say that if the manufacturer had just warned me, I wouldn't have used this product, right? And I wouldn't have gotten cancer.
Right.
So it's called a failure to warn lawsuit.
Hmm.
Well, if this Section 453 passes, then when somebody goes to sue for failure to warn, they won't win. They can
Hmm.
file the lawsuit, but they won't win because the opponent will say, we couldn't warn you because the
We weren't
EPA
allowed
didn't allow us
allow
to.
us. Now, what happens at the state level? There's just no power even at the state level for something like this. Does that just kind of override everything?
Well, so at the state level, there are two states that have passed this type of immunity. So now Georgia and North Dakota, if you live there and you get cancer from using Roundup, you can't sue.
That's amazing. That is
Yeah,
just.
but we did kill the bills in seven other states. We worked on it with Stand for Health Freedom and several other groups and
Hmm.
killed those bills. So we are still waiting to see what happens with this. But right now, there's a new section in the appropriations, continuing appropriations. So now they have like a skinny appropriations, right, that they're trying
Uh-huh.
to get passed.
Uh-huh.
A smaller bill. They're like, okay, we'll compromise. We'll try to get something done. So this new appropriations, it's called continuing appropriations, has a section called 783 in
Hmm.
it. And I might need to read a little bit of this because it's so terrible. But so it's a food labeling nutrient content claims defining the term healthy. So what they're doing with this is that they're basically, hang on a second, let me find what this person says about it. So Section 783
Hmm.
lets companies keep using the
Oh.
old healthy definition
Mm.
until the FDA new rule takes effects, and then it blocks the state from creating any stronger labeling requirements in the meantime. It protects manufacturers, but it also prolongs the consumer confusion by allowing outdated healthy claims on ultra processed foods, right? Healthy will get to stay on ultra
Hmm.
processed foods. This grace period is a win for big food, not for families. And if we're serious about reversing chronic disease in this country, we need labeling standards that reflect real metabolic and gut health, not definitions that cater to industry convenience. And that's a quote from Kendall McIntosh, who's the board certified nutrition specialist.
Right, working
So
with you.
that's what that section in the current appropriations, continuing appropriations will do. And this is the first time I've talked about it. We just found out about it. We're just crafting a call to action now. So
What
go.
is the call to action? I mean, well, I guess that will be out on Moms Across America. What is the best way
Yes.
that people can advocate against all this pesticide immunity shields and truth in labeling has been an issue for a long time, we know. And
Yes.
the bottom line continues to be um, profit over public health. And I don't know how that really gets reversed because we know that that's really what it is here. We've been dealing with that for a long time, but it's become so extreme now. It's like hyperbolic, the amount of just concern for or the prevalence of prioritizing money over health, life, fertility.
Yes.
There's no concern over that at all.
It's
There's no regard for
diabolical.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Fagan from Health Research Institute Labs, the lab that we do our testing with,
Hmm.
he was in the meeting with us with the EPA, he said it is diabolical that it would even be considered, for instance, to have PFAS sprayed on our food. It's a forever chemical. It causes cancer. It is known. How
Hmm.
anybody could even consider this
Right. Yeah.
is
And in
total
the open, I
insanity.
mean, openly do it. It's not even like
And
being
allow it in
secretive
an
or
open
hidden
link.
or no, then this is not.
Yeah, so I understand why some people think, like, some people, really believe Satan is out to, to kill us, and some people believe that, for instance, if China, one of our, perceived enemies, or Russia wanted to sell us chemicals that we would spray on our crops and destroy our farmlands, boy, that would be a great way to eliminate the enemy. So
Sure.
some
Hmm.
people really believe that this is chemical warfare that's happening,
Hmm.
and I understand
Yeah.
the reasoning for that, their perception of that. This really does feel like chemical warfare against our children. It really does feel like somebody wants to, diminish the population.
You hear
Doesn't,
that over and over again, right?
yeah.
Culling the human population. I mean, it's just, but it's not just the humans, it's all life, you know?
Yeah, it's all life. Yeah, which doesn't totally make sense to me because these other people that are doing this, they live here too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What are they
we've
eating? They're
tested the
just,
food. It's contaminated. Even organic is contaminated. It's
Mhm.
definitely lower. We
Yeah.
definitely recommend eating organic still because it's lower in contamination. But no matter what, as I talked about with my son, even if you are eating organic, you've got to get tested because you've got to find out what your levels are. Now, some people could detox those chemicals, right, and contaminants, and their body works just fine and they could detox them. So I'm not saying everybody is going to be harmed if you eat organic, right?
Mhm.
But you're
Case
definitely
by
consuming.
case scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's per case scenario, but
Yeah.
definitely if you're eating conventional food, you are eating levels of pesticides that are 1,000 times higher than.
Yeah, you can pretty much guarantee you're going to have some kind of debilitating something coming down the pipe.
Yes.
Zen, we are going to take a break right now and we'll be right back to talk about the book Poison Spring.
Hey listeners, quick break here. We hope that you're enjoying Eco Justice Radio. Stay connected by subscribing on all major podcast apps and visit our website, ecojusticeradio.org, to check out previous shows and guests, listen to extended episodes, and get connected with us on social media. Today you're listening to Toxic Chemicals and Our Kids, Moms for a Healthier Planet, with host Carrie Kim and guest Zen Honeycutt, the founding executive director of the nonprofit Moms Across America.
Listeners, we are back with Zen Honeycutt, founder of Moms Across America. And Zen, could you share about the book Poison Spring by E.G.
Vientos. Yeah,
Vallanatos.
yeah,
Yeah.
Evangelos Valientos. Some people call him Evan. But yeah, he's a lovely man, and he worked at the EPA for 29 years, and he saw everything that was going on there. And afterwards, he wrote a book. He's a whistleblower, essentially. He wrote a book
Mhm.
afterwards
Right.
about what was going on at the EPA. And he had categorical evidence that they knew exactly what was going on with neonicotinoids, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
killing honeybees. They knew exactly what was happening with glyphosate and with many, DDT
Right.
and many toxic chemicals. And inside the EPA, there were people that were bought, corrupted. There were people that tried to speak up and they were harassed, they were fired, they were told to get in line. So he sees a very dark corruption in the EPA, and that's why he calls it poison spring. It's not just poison that
Mm-hmm.
the EPA is, regulating, supposed to be regulating, but he sees like there's like a poison in the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
And so he won't have anything to do with the government now. Like I tried to ask him, well, would you be a part of,
Oh, advocating.
part of what
Yeah.
advocate what's going on? He's like, I'll do it with you, but I won't do it with the government.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's part of why we keep doing what we're doing because
Mhm.
people don't trust the government anymore,
Right.
but they trust moms.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will do what we can to, you know, live up to and earn and maintain that trust by
Mm-hmm.
bringing the truth to the American people.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do it in ways that our government can't. For instance, I was stunned to find out when I was in a food labeling hearing that Bernie Sanders held.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just before the new administration came in, and
Right.
Robert Califf was still the head of the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot the name of the other man right now, but the two of them were being sort of grilled by Bernie Sanders and many of the Republicans and Democrats. And the cool thing was you couldn't really tell who was who.
Who's
Usually
who?
it's very
Right.
sided,
Mm-hmm.
but they were both
Yeah.
on the FDA, like
Mhm.
you're not doing your job and there's too much
Right.
sugar and sodas and all that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Anyway, so one of the senators, I believe she was Republican, she asked Robert Califf for the heavy metal test results that were in
Uh-huh.
the baby food.
Right.
And
Oh.
and he said, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't give those to you." And she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, we have this problem with this confidential corporate information clause.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they can't give information out that
About
could
the
harm
ingredients. Right.
a corporation." So
Mm-hmm.
the senators that gave them the money, $7.2 billion a year, the FDA has,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't get the information from their own FDA.
Right.
That is so ridiculous. My head almost exploded because here I am. a single mom who has, just like scraped tooth and nail to raise a couple $1,000s here and there, a couple dollars here and there to pay a lab to test food for heavy metals and for
Right.
pesticides and all that. We've tested
Hmm.
school lunches, fast food, baby formula, gluten-free food, orange juice, beer, wine, breast milk, all kinds of things.
Hmm.
We've raised the money to do that. For the first, I don't know, 7 years, I probably gave $1 million worth of volunteer hours, right, to get
Hmm.
this done.
Right.
And we release the information to the public,
Right.
but the FDA doesn't.
Hmm.
So give me a break. I am sick and tired of their excuses, and we are, we're fed up. So we're very happy to have Bobby Kennedy in office,
Hmm.
right? I mean, not in office, in his
Yes.
position as
HHS. Yes.
secretary,
Uh-huh.
yeah, a secretary of HHS. But unfortunately, he's not the head of the EPA. So the
Right.
corruption continues at the EPA. And
Hmm.
the book, The Poison Spring, if you want to find out what's been happening at the EPA, what he describes in his book, even though it is a little bit dated now, it's at least 10
Right.
years old.
Hmm.
Um, it's the same old, same old.
Yeah.
It's the
And to
same.
realize how long it's been going on, that's the thing. It's been
Yeah.
going on for a long time. I wonder, given all this, we talk about the weight of all this information, and you know so much more than the average consumer knows about the toxins, the chemicals, the repercussions of it all. And how do you, what do you have to say to people as far as being able to actually listen and act upon the things that they hear instead of becoming more nonchalant or apathetic or just feeling like they're powerless?
Well, I know it's a lot of information. I know it's like a fire hose of information I'm giving you, and consider that it is information I've learned over 13 years, right? And it's a lot. I know that. So I would just ask people to grab onto the one thing that could really make a difference for your family. Some people may hear the information about atrazine and be like, "I'm going to get a water filter," right?
Hmm.
And you can go to Moms Across America. You can get the water filter that it's the only water filter Erin Brockovich recommends, right? You
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
start with that, or
Hmm.
you could say, "I really want to avoid glyphosate." And so the one thing you can do is switch out all your grains, because
Hmm.
glyphosate is most commonly sprayed on grains. It's also sprayed on beans and peas and legumes like
Lentils and mhm.
lentils and things like that too. But yeah, you could say anything, any dried beans type of thing or any grains, I'm going to buy those organic. And then you are avoiding glyphosate because they don't allow it to be sprayed on organic as a drying agent.
Mhm.
So start, with one thing and then just notice the difference. Like most people notice a difference in 3 days to 2 weeks
Mhm.
regarding the avoiding glyphosate on wheat and grains and
Mhm.
peas and beans. Their gut will feel better, they'll have less rashes, they'll sleep better. They might feel better, like less tired and stuff after eating food. You might
Mhm.
want to just go gluten-free and organic, to avoid all grain, or grain-free. I know people now that are just going completely grain-free and they feel
Right.
amazing. And I
Hmm.
promise you it's because of the glyphosate.
Right.
It's
And because of the
not.
drift, can you talk about the drift? Because even if they are eating organic, many of those farms are side by side. So,
Yeah. So unfortunately, the drift is a problem. And I recently learned, it was actually in January, from Michael McNeil of Ag Advisory, that some studies that they have done or shown or looked at
mhm.
showed that when a crop was exposed to drift level exposure of glyphosate, meaning 1/40th of the amount of a regular
Wow.
application,
Hmm.
that the nutrient uptake when a crop was exposed to drift level only exposure of glyphosate, meaning 1/40th of the amount of the normal
Spray.
exposure,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
when they were sprayed. I mean, the spray happened and then the drift came onto a crop. That crop, the nutrient uptake into the root of the plant was reduced by 20 to 85%, and into the shoot of the plant, which is what we eat, by
Hmm.
80 to 95%.
Wow, that's amazing.
And the nutrients were iron, zinc, and magnesium, which are essential for our immune system.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the plant, basically, according to Dr. Don Huber, who's a 60-year plant pathologist, probably 70-year now, said that they essentially gave the plant AIDS, an autoimmune disease, right? And the plant
Wow.
would die because of the normally harmless bacteria in the soil would kill
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
So that's what's happening in society today. The normally harmless bacteria, viruses, mold, Wi-Fi, all of that stuff is impacting our children and our bodies in ways that it normally wouldn't, I would
Hmm.
assert.
Hmm.
because glyphosate is present in so much of our food and in our environment. So our
Right.
immune systems are weakened,
Hmm.
right? And because glyphosate's a chelator, it grabs onto any vital nutrient of any living thing that it touches and it makes it unavailable. So our nutrients are depleted, our immune system is weakened, and then along comes Wi-Fi or, DDT or glyphosate or, any other pesticide or, heavy metals.
Hmm.
And our bodies are like, whoa. I think this is why Lyme disease is so bad too, because,
Hmm.
it's an autoimmune reaction to something that has been there for
Right.
millennia. Ticks have been around for a very long time, and they're and parasites and viruses, but we are reacting more strongly to them now because our immune systems are weakened from
Well,
glyphosate.
the glyphosate has been sprayed for so long, and that there's also this global use of it that
40 years now, yeah.
Yeah, the persistence of it, it's just the accumulation and why we see, how I think Zach Bush had spoken about it. You don't see it in the first generation, second generation, by the third generation is when you really see all of the health complications showing up. And we're definitely at that place. I
Yeah.
wonder what is could you share some of the data you have in your studies regarding the glyphosate in cereal, the Impossible Burger, childhood vaccines? What other glyphosate surprises should listeners know about?
So we have testing that we just did from the United States, the UK, France, and Germany. That's our most recent testing on cereal. And we found illegal levels of toxic metals in them
Hmm.
and also very high levels of glyphosate in the UK cereals.
Hmm.
And yeah, the article I have open now, it's just the heavy metals, but so I'll get back to glyphosate. We found glyphosate in 93% of school lunches, 100% of fast foods.
Hmm.
And we
100%, right, of course.
yeah, and we found the highest level of glyphosate ever recorded in Banza pasta, and that was
Wow.
uncooked. Yeah, so
Hmm.
when you cooked it, the level did get lower, but that means the glyphosate went into the water. You probably could
Right.
use that water as a weed killer, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and but the level that was left in the pasta was still 100 times higher than what you should avoid, right?
Yeah.
So Banza pasta is now trying to change that.
Hmm.
So we're talking with them, and we'll see what happens with that. But the levels of glyphosate were the highest in fast food and Panera bread,
Hmm. Wow.
and yeah, and the levels of there was glyphosate in Girl Scout cookies. I believe it was almost all of them.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
have
Well,
all the
because they're not
stats.
doing anything organic, I think. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no, and breast milk, it was 3,000 times higher than what has been found to cause sex hormone changes and liver and kidney damage in rats. So
Hmm.
this was one mom who ate conventional food. She had high levels of glyphosate. So it's found kind of ubiquitously, meaning like everywhere.
Right.
It's been found in the bark in Siberia in trees. It's been found in wild rabbits in Siberia. It's been found in tap water, urine, breast milk, rain,
It's
air.
more like to say where hasn't it been found, I think is
Yeah,
almost the question
280
nowadays.
million pounds of it is used every year. And so this is the biggest thing that we're going up against is trying to get it banned. I've got
Hmm.
people from the administration now telling me that that's just not it's just not going to happen. That the
Hmm.
farmers are pushing back, and I think the farmers are being used by the chemical companies. They are just hanging on like a dog
Yeah.
with a bone to
Right.
using glyphosate, and it is the worst chemical, according to, again, like Don Huber, 70-year probably plant pathologist. He says glyphosate is going to make DDT look like mouthwash.
So God, I mean, it's amazing how many people are still even unaware of what it even is. They don't even know that there's anything on their food. I
Yeah.
mean, it's amazing to me. But you had mentioned something about a lot of the corporations behind glyphosate these days are Chinese, like 80% or something like that.
85.7% of the companies who make glyphosate are Chinese. And
Hmm.
I would assert that the many of the other agrochemicals that we use, the numbers are similar. Do you know what I mean? China makes a lot of the chemicals that we use on our food supply. And if
Hmm.
I were a farmer or a president putting America first, I would be looking at, hey, why are we using chemicals from companies, I mean, from countries that are, reported enemies?
Hmm.
Why are we using chemicals from these countries that have no concern about our health, in fact,
Right,
want to
sure.
harm our health
Hmm.
and or our population, and our power? Why would we be allowing countries to sell us chemicals that are poisoning our children and our families. That just does not make sense to me. I
Yeah.
would be putting all my money into, uh, supporting regenerative organic farming and supporting farmers here in America to grow food that feeds Americans. A lot of people don't know this. Many of the produce that the much of the produce that we eat,
Hmm.
60, 70, 40, percent of it is imported from other countries.
Right.
For instance, the soybeans that we grow in the
Hmm.
United States, the major, like
Hmm.
95% of them are GMO, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
70% of them we export to other countries to
Hmm.
to feed their cows, their chickens, their pigs, right? Or to make
Right.
soybean oil in
Hmm.
China, Taiwan, like places like that. 80% of the soy that we consume in organic products, like protein powders,
Hmm. Hmm.
is imported from
Hmm.
Turkey and from the Middle East.
So insane.
It's so insane. And it has been reported through ISIS that ISIS has had a tasteless poison. I don't know if it could be thallium or something, but it's some type of tasteless poison. They
Hmm.
could be putting that on our food, right? And they could poison the American population who's trying to eat, soybeans or whatever other type of grain we're importing. The
Yeah.
problem is too, is that those soybeans go to the Long Beach port in
Hmm.
California
Hmm.
and they're marked on the log, the ship log as conventional. When they leave the port in Turkey, they get to the Long Beach port in California, and all of a sudden they're organic and they're worth $2 million more.
Uh-huh. Right.
And we have evidence of this playing out in the food supply because the Detox Project, Henry Rollins and the Detox Project tested all kinds of protein powders.
Hmm.
And the protein powders that were conventional, non-GMO, which is still conventional, but not using GMO, soy,
Hmm.
and organic, all had 54 parts per billion of glyphosate in them.
Wow.
That means the organic was not just contaminated, it was fraudulent labeling, right? The
Sure.
same product in all of them, the same amount of glyphosate. So that shows us that there is fraudulent labeling going on, especially in highly processed foods. Anything that
Hmm.
has soy or peas or beans, right,
Hmm.
could
Hmm.
be fraudulently labeled. Mostly the soy.
To see
So
all the Roundup type ready crops, right? I mean,
yeah, all the Roundup type ready crops. So I would avoid I personally avoid protein powders in general and
Mhm.
and products that are highly processed, even if they're organic. I try to, not eat those as much.
Right. Like grow your own, that's the only thing. And even then, right? That's grow your own regeneratively. That's the best
Yeah,
option you
support your local farmers. And to me, they don't have to be organic as long as they promise you they're not using Roundup and other toxic chemicals. Support your local farmers and buy from scratch. I buy from Azure Standard a lot.
I've heard of them. Yeah. Hmm.
Azure, Azure bulk because it's much cheaper.
Hmm.
I do buy from Costco.
Because they grow their own, right? As Your Standard has their own farms.
Yes, or yeah, well, and they have like a co-op, like a network. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I do go to the farmers market and buy food locally, and I do also, in a pinch, I don't love going to Walmart, but Walmart does sell a lot of organic food as well. So, if you have to buy from big stores and you can't buy from farmers markets, then there is a lot of organic available
Yeah.
now in
Because
America.
the funny thing is that people will say when you recommend to them to buy organic, they'll think it's more expensive and how can I trust them? Which is ironic. And meanwhile, they'll be like popping all these pharmaceutical drugs or things like that. And
Yeah.
it's like insane that people think, well, you have to at some point need to trust someone, but you have to do your due diligence as well because there is malfeasance out there. There is fraudulent labeling. Those things happen. I mean, there's a lot of collusion, corruption, malfeasance. We could
But
just go on and on.
that's not a reason to knowingly subject yourself to food that has more poison in it, right? So
Exactly.
I have reviewed thousands of test studies and
Hmm.
I have seen that organic across the board has much lower levels of glyphosate in it, with this very small exception of things like protein powders and other grocery foods that have been tested, it's only been 20%, right? So
Hmm.
out of 100 samples of
Yeah.
organic, 20 of them might have some low levels of glyphosate in it.
Right.
There might be a few that might have
Hmm.
the same levels
Right.
as conventional, but it's definitely lower. So no excuses. Prioritize. Don't buy the new phone. Don't go on a fancy vacation if that's what you have to do. Budget and prioritize your health first
Mm-hmm.
and go organic as much as possible. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have a health issue, like if your child has, autism and inflammation and, erratic behavior, you've got to go 100% organic. And here's why, because you can't put just a teaspoon of fuel on a campfire and expect it to go out. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go, so you have to stop cold turkey.
Right.
So we suggest you go 100% organic whole foods, that are not
Mm-hmm.
going to be contaminated and,
Mm-hmm.
intentionally contaminated. And then also have sauerkraut, apple cider vinegar, and kombucha. Those have been shown to contain a good bacteria called
Mm-hmm.
Acetobacter that
Mm-hmm.
breaks down glyphosate into
Mm-hmm.
non-toxic components. Now, it
Mm-hmm.
was shown to do that in the soil, but I'm going to
Right.
assert that what happens in the soil happens in the gut as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we know that's what's been happening in society. So it's good to have those foods, apple cider vinegar, kombucha, and sauerkraut, every day if
Mm-hmm.
you can.
Yeah. Or would it be also be all fermented kind of vegetables like that would maybe be similar?
They
Not
could.
just the sauerkraut. Yeah.
I don't
Don't
know
know
if
for
those
sure.
other fermented vegetables have the same bacteria. There's like
Right. Sure.
millions of
Mm-hmm.
different kinds of bacteria. So,
Yeah.
but I know that those three do. You can use.
Zen, thank you so much for all of the information. Again, we could be holed up with you for a week and you would still have more to share. But if you could, I'm glad you're coming out hopefully with another book. So if you could share your links and how people can, keep up with Moms Across America's advocacy and participate with you.
Sure. Momsacrossamerica.org is our educational nonprofit. You can get data there, all the science that I've talked about, you can find under data. And you can join our Moms Connect calls on Monday nights, most Monday nights, maybe not every Monday night, but we have
Mhm.
at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we have Moms Connect calls, and we hope that you'll join us. You sign up under Connect and you sign up for the newsletter and the invitation. We also have a new 501c3 legislative arm group, which is, nonprofit, which is a
Mhm.
501c4, and that's
Mhm.
called the Moms Across America Movement.
Mm.
We say yes, ma'am. That's the tagline for it.
Okay.
And we are championing policy and public servants who put children, health, safety, and America's future first. So if you want to get involved, we are asking for $1 a day for you to have a say of what happens on the Hill. So
Mhm.
the whole
Mhm.
idea is for us to go lobby and go to the
Right.
Hill. We've been doing that, and you can support us through momsacrossamericamovement.org.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Zen, for your just tireless advocacy. It's again, as I've said before, we are in your debt, and all of us have to be part of this actually. So everyone, do
Everybody
you
can
can.
do something.
Yes, everybody
Yes.
can. And look at how Zen started. So um, thank you. Thank you. We persist, we will continue, and we must.
And there's many wins that we have. So, let's just keep going with those. Organic food has gone from 20 billion to 70 billion in sales, and that's because of people like you. So,
And growing. Yep. Ground
yeah,
up movement. Thank you so much, Zen. And thank you to all the moms out there and all those, not just the moms, but everyone who is advocating for the future.
thank you.
Hey, listeners, to check out the extended recording of this show or to explore our other shows, visit our website, ecojusticeradio.org, and subscribe to our podcast. This has been Eco Justice Radio and our show, Toxic Chemicals and Our Kids, Moms for a Healthier Planet. Thank you to our guest, Zen Honeycutt. And thank you to our listeners for joining us. Please connect with us on social media at Eco Justice Radio, SoCal 350, and Wilder Utopia. If you like what you've heard, you want others to be informed, subscribe and share the episodes. You've been listening to Eco Justice Radio, a project of SoCal 350. Executive producer and co-host myself, Jack Eit, co-host Carrie Kim, and engineer and original music by Blake Quake Beats. And until next time, remember, the power is yours.